to come this afternoon. And the reason we got 2 shows is because when we scheduled Laura, that we had limitations on how many could be in the room. And so we had an afternoon, we had an evening, and now we can all be together, so we just kept it 2 anyway. So maybe you want to come back for a rerun tonight. Okay. This is Laura Novick, and her mom was here, Naomi, and she brought along some entertainment. And she also has not only tricks, but she has some agility videos to show you, because we have quite an accomplished border collie. Is it Kalila? Kalila. And I'm just going to turn it over to Laura and let her tell you everything there is. And you haven't read about it, but the show sounds amazing. So please enjoy, and if you want to see it again, tell your friends. It'll happen again tonight at 7.
It's okay. Come here, line up. Keely, come here, line up. She says, I don't know what to do about that. I've lost. Good girl, stay. All right, so I'm going to show you our tricks routine, and I'm going to have 4 videos of agility, 2 with her, and 2 with my older dog, who's more accomplished at agility. And then I'm going to throw it up into questions about anything dog-related that you want.
How old is your dog?
She is 2 years old. She just turned 2 on June 5th. All right. Hi, my name is Kalila. I'm a border collie, and this is my story. But I should really start at the beginning. In the beginning, I was born into a criminal family. My parents named me Bandit because of my eye patch. I made a pretty good living thieving. First, I learned how to hide, so I could get away if anyone was chasing me. Okay, hide. Good.
Should we clap?
I don't care.
But does Kalila care?
I don't know, maybe. Come here, Keely. She'll get used to it. Okay, line up. Stay. And then I served as a decoy while my 4 sisters took stuff from unsuspecting folks. People just couldn't keep their eyes off me when I did this trick. Keely. Right. Hey. Line up. Come on. Line up. Stay. Okay, slip. Good. And then I learned how to be a pickpocket myself. Okay. Hey, stop thief! But one day, I couldn't run away because I was surrounded by police officers. I was arrested. And I was taken by Paddy Wagon to jail. Okay, wagon. Okay, go creep. The food there was really awful, though, so I decided to break out of jail. I disguised myself as a horse and walked out, trying to be as quiet as I could, which is really difficult because I'm a loudmouth when I get excited. Okay. Good. Okay, come on. Down. Stay. When I got home, I packed my treasures in the suitcase. Okay, pack. Good girl. Good girl. Good. Okay. Line up. Stay. It seems safer to skedaddle. Okay. Line up. Right. Come on. Okay. After stowing myself away in the suitcase with my toys and a long flight in cargo, I finally arrived in a new country, far from where I was born. Okay, suitcase. Okay. Down. Stay. I had to jump through hoops at immigration. Okay, hoop. Down. I found a new home with a nice woman who said I could be an agility star because I already know how to jump through a hoop and do the weaves. She gave me a new name for my new life. Now I'm Grand Oak's partner in time, better known as Kalila, and she taught me to jump up into her arms at the end of our agility run. I love her in my new life. Okay, up. Good job. Very good. Right, keep that. Go great. Good girl. Stay. Okay, so, I guess I'll start with her, and then I'll show you the other dog. All right, so how do I open? Just do that. Perfect. So this, what? What? No. That makes no sense. Oh, coded in a format that's not supported. All right, how do we? Which probably means I can't play either of these two. But I should be able to, well, we may not. Yeah, these two. Well, so it looks like we probably can't show the two videos of her doing agility because they're in a format that.
Do you guys have? Do you have VLC player? It's a freeware VLC player thing. You can download it if you want to. Like take a little break. You can download it. I won't be telling you. It'll take a couple minutes to get it.
Okay, here. Why don't you do that? So the tech people are going to fix it so we can see all the videos, and I'm going to answer questions first, and then we're going to show videos.
I don't know about that. That may be. You guys should have downloaded it. Yeah.
Oh, actually, it's big. I'm just breaking off little pieces of it. It's something that some local people make homemade that's beef and beef tripe or something that the dogs really like, and then they sell it at the agility competitions, and so it's really high value. The dogs really like it, and it supports a local business, so I buy it. Louder? Yes.
You have to repeat the question. I'm sorry to hear something.
Okay, so the question was what kind of treats was I buying? The question that I was asked was what kind of treats am I giving to the dogs? Yes?
Did she really come from a different country?
No, she did not come from a different country. That was just the storyline. The AKC has a series of trick dog titles of 5 levels. So this was her routine that earned her highest level title. And it begins in novice, and you teach, so it's got a list of tricks that you can pick 10, and they're pretty easy things. And when you get up to this, what they call the elite performer level, you have to do harder tricks, and you have to have a story. So you can make up whatever story you want. She came from a breeder in Michigan, near Detroit and Ann Arbor.
How old was she when you got her?
I got her, she was 8 weeks old.
Okay, so you taught her everything that.
I taught her everything, yeah. Yes.
Did you particularly look at that breeder because that's what you wanted? Or did you happen by chance? What was your research like to find the breeder?
Yeah, the question is, how did I pick the breeder? I was specifically looking for a dog who would be really good at doing agility. That was the main thing that I care about. And she's somebody who has done a lot of breeding of border collies for sports, so agility, but also other kinds of sports. And she's had several of the dogs that she's bred have been on one of the U.S. World Agility teams, the Canadian World Agility team, and so that's how I picked her.
Did you go to the litter and pick her yourself, or did you let her pick her?
It was a combination, so she picked, but I got to provide input and say I like these ones best.
Okay.
So there were 5 in the litter. There were 5 in the litter. They were all girls. That was why she was the decoy for her 4 sisters, because she really did have 4 sisters in her litter. So I could say, well, I like A and B and C.
How much time do you spend with her on a regular basis?
Working, yeah. How much time do I spend working? I mean, we take a walk usually in the morning and the evening, and I usually do some kind of training at lunchtime, and then I do more training or go to trials on the weekends. So it's a lot of time to get a 2-year-old dog to do all of this. I mean, it's, the only thing I do for fun, more or less, is train my dogs. I don't have time for anything else.
How old is your other dog?
I actually have 3 dogs. The other one that I have with me is 7.5. She'll be 8 at the end or in the middle of October, and then my oldest dog is almost 10.
So you have another dog here?
I left her in my room. I actually would have left her in the kennel with the oldest one, except that she pulled a muscle in her groin, and it's not really safe to leave her at the kennel, so I brought her with me. But I left her in my room so that I wouldn't be distracted by her. She would want to come and, she would stay still, but she would want to come say hi to everybody and then run around, and she's not allowed to run around. So, unfortunately.
You're not talking to the center.
I'm sorry.
I said, you're talking down at that end, can't you get in the middle so that?
I have a question, Laura.
Yes.
Do they run? Besides all the training, do they run, or how do they get a lot of exercise? The border collies need a lot of exercise.
So yes, border collies need a lot of exercise, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they need to run and run and run. So she does get exercise running. We have agility class actually twice a week. In answer to the other question about how much time do I spend with my dogs, I forgot about we have an agility class on Wednesday morning and another one on Thursday evening. So she does get running, but she need to tire her out. Even if all she did was run, that wouldn't tire her out. She needs to use her brain. So part of all of this tricks training is it tires her out, because it tires her out mentally, right? So just like if you guys are learning some new skill, you're learning a foreign language, or you're learning how to knit, or whatever it is, it takes a lot of mental energy to learn something new, and you get done with your session of learning and you're tired, and it's the same thing with them. Yes? Oh, okay. So this is Kalila. She is running a not rank beginner jumpers course, but kind of middle. So the 3 levels in agility. Well, kind of 4 levels, I guess. So beginner, advanced, beginner, intermediate, advanced, and like super advanced, let's say. I mean, they give them different names. So this is an intermediate level jumping course. That means that the course is allowed to have jumps and tunnels and weave poles, and those are the only things that you're allowed to have on this course. So you can press start. Maybe? Do that one. The one that says biathlon jumpers.
Does barking mean she's happy?
Oh yeah, it means she's super excited. When she's super excited, she barks, and so she barks on the agility course almost the whole way. So this is my older dog up in the right-hand corner up there. This is also a jumpers course, but this is the super advanced kind of jumpers course, and this was from Cinesports, which is one of the big national agility competitions. That was 2019, I think. Right, this is the same dog, made tall. So this is now a course that has all of the obstacles in it, so you can see what the rest of the agility obstacles look like. And then I'll end with Khalila's last one. So the last one is Khalila doing one of these super advanced courses, which she didn't quite make it through correctly because she dropped the bar on the last jump. But it was her very, very first time to try one of these super hard courses. She messed up on the second one we did that day, so it's really a bit beyond her level. But she mostly did this one, so you could see this.
How do you like it so far?
Wish I could run that fast.
One of the big challenges for me in running her in agility is that she's a lot faster than my older dog. So I was at the end of the weave pulls there. I didn't cross before the tunnel quite soon enough, and she almost ran into me. And that's partially because she's running faster, and we're still learning how to gel as a team and work together. And she's still learning, what does she have to do? How does she respond to my cues? And I'm still learning how to tell her appropriately what she needs to do. So we don't always communicate correctly on an agility course, but we're learning. Yes,
So these are timed, right?
these are timed, yes. So the judge sets the course, so they're numbered cones all around the course. You get a chance to walk the course, usually for 8 minutes, 7 or 8 minutes, without your dog. And then you get to run it one time with your dog, and it's a race. So the dog who runs the whole course clean, so no mistakes of any kind, the fastest wins.
Have you ever made a mistake about where to send the dog?
Oh, all the time. Sometimes, I make a mistake because I forget the course. Sometimes I'm trying to send her in, either of my dogs in a certain direction, but I don't communicate it very well. So I'm trying to say, go this way, but my body's really oriented to go that way, and the dog will always follow where your body is oriented, even if you're saying something else. So all of us, you know, miscommunicate. And sometimes with her, because she's just a baby dog, sometimes she just ignores me and says, "Oh, there's a tunnel. I like tunnels. I'm going to go through that tunnel right now, and then I'll come back and listen to you." So,
What's a good age to start training a dog?
good age to start training a dog. So that depends partly on what you're training your dog for, but just basic training the day you bring them home. So I started with sit and down and stay in a crate basically the day she got home, you know, the first week that she got home. And then I added other skills and tricks, you know, as she got older. And I started pre-agility sorts of things, maybe at 6 months old or so. Some of the agility work you can't do until they're a year old or so, and until their growth plates close, like the weave poles, and that the A-frame, the thing that looks like a mountain. You can't start doing those until their growth plates are closed, or they'll be injured. You can't jump them at their full height, so in the competition, there are different height divisions, so depending on how tall your dog is, that determines what height the bars are set at, and you can't jump them at whatever their full height would be. So she jumps 20-inch jumps, the bars are set 20 inches off the ground. She can't jump 20-inch bars until at least a year old. And bigger dogs, their growth plates close later. So bigger dogs, some of these things you have to wait even later to start training.
You were talking about communication, and am I gathering that it's a combination of both what you say and body signals? Can you explain that a bit more?
Yes, so the question was, how do I communicate with my dog on the agility course? And we use a number of ways of communicating. So the strongest signal that we give our dog is our motion. So if I'm moving in this direction, my dog is going to tend to follow in that direction. So one of the things, and some of the advanced courses, part of what makes them difficult is maybe you need to send your dog that way, go through the weave poles, while you move over here to get in place to handle something over there, so that your dog has to go counter to your direction of movement, and that's difficult and something that has to be trained. So the strongest cue is what direction are we moving. The next cue, the next strongest cue is where's our chest and our feet facing. So if I'm facing this way, my dog's going to go that way. If I'm facing this way, my dog's going to go this way. So part of what you do, if I want my dog to go this way, but I'm moving here, I'm still looking, holding my arm out. I'm trying to give some kind of body direction cues, despite the fact that my movement is going in a different way. So they, when your dog goes over the wrong obstacle, the agility instructors always say, okay, stop and look at your feet. Where are your feet pointing? Because probably your dog went into that obstacle, you know, right there, because that's where your feet are pointing, and your feet needed to be this way or this way, depending on where the obstacle was that you want. And then the last cue that they pay attention to is what we say. Right? So we are very verbal as people, and you know, we each, when we communicate with each other, we pay more attention to the words than to anything else, pretty much. But that's the least important cue for the dogs. So, so if you want your dog to pay attention to the words, you have to really work hard to train that so that they will listen to the words even if you're, running someplace else. Yeah.
Have you ever used clickers instead of food, or are you food-based training all the time you train?
So good question. What do I use for training? Do I use clickers? Do I use food? Do I use other things? So yes, I use a clicker. So a clicker, I don't have one with me. A clicker is a reward marker. It's just a little box. It's about this big. When you press on it, it makes this clicking sound. And the clicking sound is just a marker for the dog that they did something correct. You then have to reward them with food or something otherwise they won't care about the click. So yes, I did do clicker training. I also have a verbal marker that's equivalent to a click, because if you're trying to do certain kinds of tricks and you've got stuff in your hands, then your hands aren't always available to hold the clicker. So I do food training. The other thing I do is playing tug with her. So her agility training, the rewards for that is almost all play tug with me. And she loves playing tug with me. And my other border collie too. Some dogs are really toy motivated. Border collies in general tend to be really toy motivated. Retrievers tend to be toy motivated. Other dogs are not so toy motivated, and so some people are training only with food. Some people are training mostly with toys and only a little bit with food. And probably, I train with food for tricks typically, and mostly with the tugging with toys for agility. Yes, and then back.
You mentioned a couple other breeds there. I just saw your dogs, which are border collies. What are some other common breeds, and how prevalent are border collies? Because I know they're the very smartest dogs on the world. So.
Yeah. So the question is, what kind of? This is for doing agility, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So what kinds of dogs are doing agility? Actually, all breeds of dogs are doing agility. My first agility dog was my oldest dog now is some kind of herding dog breed mix, probably German Shepherd mix with who knows what else in there. So the mutts are competing in agility, and purebred dogs of all different kinds. The most competitive dogs depends partly on what jump height. So the higher jump heights, border collies tend to be most competitive. They tend to be the fastest. At a kind of medium 16-inch jump height, the Shetland sheepdogs tend to be most competitive. The smaller heights, kind of 8 to 12 inches, I think Papillons tend to be the most competitive, but you can see every breed and mixed breed in the world doing agility. All of them can do it. Back there was a question.
Where do you train?
Where do I train? So I train at 2 different places. There are, I think that there's kind of 3, I guess there are 3 different places in my area. So I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and there are 3 places in my area that give lessons, and I take lessons at 2 of the 3. I'm not sure around here what's available. Yes?
Does she try to herd you?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, when I take my dogs on the walk, there's a lot of runaround behind me, which is herding behavior. But she doesn't do it that much because she has other outlets to keep her interested. And I don't, like run around the backyard, right? So the border collies are really known for herding little kids because the kids run around in the backyard playing. And I would frankly rather let her run around the backyard and me stand still. So she doesn't quite have the opportunity to herd me that she might like. And I've not taken her herding, but she has one grandparent on each side who are herding champions. So she would probably be really good at herding if I had the time and money and inclination to go pursue that. I mean, you can take herding lessons and there are herding trials, but I haven't done that. Yes?
Looking at those videos, it looks to me like the trainer has to be as physically fit as the dog.
Yeah, that's actually not necessarily true. Although, so the question was, it looks like the trainer has to be as physically fit as the dog. And it helps, obviously, but there are actually a fair number of people in agility who are not really all that physically fit. There are also people with various kinds of mobility impairments who are competing. I mean, I know somebody who competes in a wheelchair, has a motorized wheelchair and competes. So, if you have mobility impairments of any kind that make it difficult for you to run around, you just need to adjust, I say. It's not easy, but you have to train your dog to be able to work at a greater distance. So when I was running the courses with my dogs, whenever there was a curve, I was on the inside of the curve. So my dog is running the farther distance and I'm running the shorter distance. And the farther away I stay from my dog, right, the farther away she is from me, then the less I have to run. Right? I could just move slightly like this and send her a really far distance. And so you can do that kind of distance training and be really successful even if you are not all that mobile. It takes longer to train your dog to do that, but I know a number of people who do that. One of the people I take lessons from does that. Yeah.
Do you or other trainers use whistles?
They use whistles in herding. I think because in herding, the dogs are really way far away from you, and so they wouldn't hear you if you said something, and so that's why they use whistles. In agility, the agility course is in a 100-foot square or 120-foot square arena, so even if your dog were on one end and you were on the other, which doesn't really happen, your dog would still hear you if you said something. So we don't use whistles in agility. I think there was a question somewhere. Okay, yeah.
Have you tried obedience with them?
I have not. I have no interest in obedience. I have friends who do obedience, but it just seems boring to me, so I haven't done it.
What is obedience?
What is it? So obedience is, so in obedience, your dog has to do a variety of behaviors very sedately and very precisely. So if they have to walk at your side, only at your left side, their nose has to be like exactly at your leg or something. I mean, I don't know all of the details because
I've seen that before now.
right. They have to go retrieve a dumbbell. They have to be able to pick out a dumbbell that has your scent on it in with a bunch of dumbbells laid out. So it's they have to be able to drop into into a down position from a distance. So if you start recalling them to come towards you and then you tell them to lie down in the middle of running towards you, they have to drop right exactly where they are. And they have to be able to stay in a down position with other dogs around for 5 minutes without moving a muscle. So
Too
I have,
boring for you.
it's too boring for me. It is too boring for me. Yeah, I mean, one of my really good agility friends is doing obedience with her dog. So, but
It should be easy for you guys. I mean, you got all the basics already there. It's just the calmness.
well, I have no interest in training the precise. I mean, my dog will walk nicely on a leash outside, but I frankly don't care if her nose is here or here or here, as long as she's not tugging at the leash and trying to pull my arm off. And if I'm doing competition obedience, I have to care that her nose is right here, and it stays right here, even if we turn in a circle this way, so she slows down, or if we turn in a circle this way, and then she has to speed up because she has to always stay on the left. And so that kind of precision is just not my cup of tea, so we don't do that. Yeah.
Is your older dog still active, performing?
She was before she got injured, and I hope she's going to get all better and be back to running agility. Yes, she was performing up until the time that she got injured.
When did she get injured?
The middle of January. So she was getting better, and then she had a setback, and now she's getting better again, and so it's a really hard injury to recover from. But I mean, she's expected to recover and expected to go back in on agility. Yes.
Do you find male or female dogs superior in training?
I personally have only had female dogs, but male. I mean, my friend has male dogs. I think if you look at which dogs are on the world team, they're both male dogs and female dogs. I don't think there's any difference. Male dogs tend to mature a little bit later. In the same way, if you're raising kids, the boys tend to mature a little later than the girls, and it's kind of the same thing with the dogs. But I don't think that one is necessarily better or more competitive at doing sports. Yeah.
Could we switch gears and go back to the tricks again?
Sure.
What makes a good trick dog?
Or what are qualifications? I'm sure that lots of dogs can learn tricks, but
So the question was whether there's one breed that's better for learning tricks than another dog. I mean, I don't think you need any specific skills for learning tricks. You know, a dog. I guess you want a dog that likes to learn and likes to work with you for kind of any of these things, right? So, I mean, there are some dogs who are really independent and don't really like to work with you, and you could teach them tricks, and there are people who have dogs like that who are doing agility with them, but you can't train as much or for as long at one session. You can't repeat things as much, and you probably wouldn't end up being as competitive. But one thing that's nice about the tricks and about the agility is it's not which is different from obedience, is that it's not all about beating another dog. So with both the tricks and the agility, there's an external standard, and you can do well and earn championships as long as you meet the external standard, even if you don't ever win on a particular run. So on the tricks, all three of my dogs, the two border collies and the mixed breed, they all have this highest level elite performer trick dog title. I taught different tricks. I taught some of the same tricks, but I also taught different tricks to the three different dogs, depending on what were the sorts of things that this dog can easily do versus can that dog easily do. So I think you could teach tricks to any dog, but you would pick and choose which are the tricks that are kind of appropriate for that dog, that that dog would find fun and motivating to do, right? Not every dog is going to think, oh, this is going to be fun to go jump in a suitcase and close it up on me. She thinks it's a blast. So, right, you know, my oldest dog is too big to fit in the suitcase, right? So
what other work do you do besides working with your dogs?
I'm a psychology professor at Vanderbilt University.
That explains a lot. Does that help you with the dogs? Or just help you, period?
I mean, yeah, it probably is a help in that I, already knew principles of learning before I started doing dog training, but, my friends who are not psychology professors, just learned the relevant principles of learning to be able to effectively teach their dogs.
Which is more time consuming,
Unfortunately, the professorship is more time consuming, and I wish I had more time to spend with the dogs. But, one of these days I'll retire and then I can just do the dogs.
Do you see a difference in the intelligence of the dog? Some people say, oh, that's all dogs are equal intelligence or whatever, and yet really people are, except other dogs.
No, it's clearly the case that dogs differ in intelligence, and they differ, partially the breeds differ, so border collies are, if not the most intelligent dog breed as a whole, they're up there in the top 5. Poodles are also pretty super smart. But even within the breed, there are some border collies that are really, really smart and others who are, not as much, right? There are individual differences even within a breed, and not just across breeds. Yes?
He had a male bearded collie,
Uh-huh.
and he was my dog. It was just no question about it. He loved me. We had a Sheltie, female Sheltie, and she loved Bill. It was just, is that a common thing to find a male-female thing?
I don't know if it's specifically a male-female thing, but it is certain. I don't know enough instances to be able to answer that specifically, but I know it's certainly the case that dogs pick people, right? So it doesn't surprise me that you said, well, we had these 2 dogs and one of them was really mine and the other one was really my husband's, and I don't know that necessarily has anything to do with the sex of the dog, although it might. I just honestly don't know one way or the other. But the dog picking the person happens all the time. So I know some people, the husband got involved in doing agility because one of their Shelties actually picked him, and she needed an outlet for all her energy, and he had to do something with her because she had picked him.
How did you get started doing this?
So I got started doing the agility or the tricks, or
Both.
I got started with the agility first. I had a dog when my son was about 7 or 8, who had a lot of energy, and the trainer that we went to just for the basic obedience kind of stuff said, oh, you should try agility. Your dog would like this. So I tried agility, and it was hard to do as a single parent of an 8-year-old, 9-year-old child who had to come with me, and so I didn't end up pursuing it. But then when I got the oldest, that was the dog before the oldest of my 3 now, and when I got the oldest of the 3 now, my son was a senior in high school, I said, oh, that agility thing, that might be fun. And so I took agility lessons with her and got hooked. And then I started doing tricks after that, because I think the tricks are fun, and the AKC started up with these trick dog titles, and I thought, oh, well, that'll be fun, I'll do these tricks, so that's how I got into it.
Did your son ever get interested in it?
No, he didn't. I mean, he was a senior in high school when I started doing agility, and then he came home for the summer, and then he went off to graduate school, and so he never really had any exposure to it. Yes?
Do you ever plan on breeding your females or no? They're strictly,
The older 2 are spayed. The younger one, Kalila, is not yet spayed, but I got her from a breeder, and I got her on a non-breeding contract. So
Okay.
I am not allowed
okay.
to breed her. She actually will be spayed later this year.
She looks unusually small for a border collie.
She is small. She's very small. I mean, there are border collies that are smaller
Oh,
than her. I think there's some breeders who are trying to breed really small border collies to make it into the 16-inch height class in agility and beat all the Shelties. She's not. She's tall enough to jump 20 inches. But her father is taller than her. Her mother was a little bit smaller than her, actually. And one of her, I think she's the second smallest in the litter. So one of her litter mates is even smaller than her. But yeah, she's definitely small for a border collie. She's about 18 and a half inches tall at the withers and weighs 26 pounds. And it would be more typical for her to be kind of 19, well, for a female, kind of 19, 20 inches at the withers. For a male, probably 20 to 22 inches, and, kind of 30 to 45 pounds probably. But I mean, there's variability. I have a friend who has a border collie who weighs 45 pounds, I think, and is maybe 22 and a half inches. I mean, he's off the height chart at the high end, she's off the height chart at the low end. But yeah, she's small. Yeah.
So the jumps that Lassie did in the old movies
Oh, yeah.
were sort of mythical, is that right? I mean, because that would have been very destructive for a collie to have gone that high, over when she escaped over the high walls and stuff.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how the movie was done. I don't know how tall those really were, and whether, it might well have been a trick of camera angles and whatever that made it seem like it's taller than it is. But there are sports where, the protection sports where the dogs have to, jump up on or climb on over like a fence that's, 8 feet tall or something, and they do it, and, Lassie-sized dogs do that. So without knowing exactly how tall. But I know that when agility started, the largest dogs had to jump 30 inches. They don't have to do that anymore. The highest jumps are 24. But when it started, they had to jump 30 inches. So, you know, if that's the kind of jump that Lassie was doing, then, you know, for sure that would be possible.
But so that these rules are more protective of the dog's spines and so forth and those.
The lowering the jumps, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, and there are not that many dogs that can physically jump that high, right? So, you know, if you want people to stay in the sport, right, pay their money to enter the competition. But it is also, I mean, it's a serious safety issue jumping that high. Yes?
What does it take to compete like at the world level? I mean, is that your goal to be, I mean,
No, my goal, so that championship that Natal was in, to actually be competitive at that, which is a U.S. event, but kind of national competition. That's what I would like. One of my instructors has previously been on the U.S. World Team and has aspirations to, once the World Teams start going on again, to get selected again. You know, most of the World Team members are younger, run faster. Most of them are, spending more time doing agility than I am. So, you know, this instructor of mine, she's making a living teaching agility. But so, you know, mostly younger, and then you need fast, really well-trained dogs. So, you know, I don't really have the time to put into the training. I don't have all the equipment myself. I don't have a big enough yard to have all the equipment, so you would need all of that.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and stop it now, but if you still have questions, please stay and visit and talk. Meet Kalila. And also, if you want to come back, we're here tonight. So thank you everybody for coming. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Kalila. And if you have more questions, just come on up and ask. Thank you.